Welcome to The Difference Engine, the show for founders, investors, and tech innovators.
All right, what have we got coming up today?
Captain Hindsight will help us learn from the storm that formed when Microsoft acquired Activision Blizzard.
We'll also be looking at how AI is proliferating the production of internet slop.
But first, let's take a look at some European startups. Which fintech has a chance of becoming a category leader?
Okay, we know that funding has been hard to get recently, but it hasn't dried up completely.
Yeah, I think there's one sector where things are looking interesting still, and it's fintech. We know it's in the doldrums. VC funding in Europe is really yet to return to the heady days of the 2021 tech boom. And the reality is actually it's flatlining. The sector's at a standstill in terms of investment growth. Last quarter, fintech investment hit 2.7 billion, roughly the same level of funding in the same time last year. Back in 2021, first quarter saw $6.3 billion stuffed into the sector. But, that doesn't mean that there aren't success stories to be found. Whilst any money is being invested, there's potential winners to be created. Even amid a funding slowdown, some fintechs have managed to raise capital and are growing headcount, some spectacularly fast. Now, using data from Dealroom, the tech-focused FT spinout Sifted, which we very much like, recently compiled a list of the 10 fintechs with the fastest growing teams. Now, to be eligible, startups need to have raised at least $30 million and have teams larger than 50 employees. Now, pretty much all of them are selling to innovators and early adopters at this stage, whose brands they are proudly displaying on their website. Well, so far so good. But here's what interests us. What are the chances of these early stage companies truly making it on the world stage, creating the tech category leaders of which Europe is embarrassingly short?
All right, let's take a stab at this deal or no deal category, running our ruler over them.
Right, so let's have a very, very quick run through them.
Want to start in Turkey?
It's Midas, founded in 2020, almost doubled their employee count over the last 12 months, and they last raised $45 million at a Series A.
We do like Turkey. We've worked with an AI company called Tazi out of there. We know that it's got a large domestic market. Lots of investors are looking for real returns because it's very inflationary over there. And that's what Midas does, right?
What does Midas do? Well, it's a wealth tech platform, but it is sort of focused towards retail consumers in that country, in Turkey, looking to invest in US and Turkish equities. But is this a category leader? Question mark.
Is it?
No.
Okay.
Just potentially more focused form of what already exists, disintermediation of financial middlemen. And that's been happening throughout this century. So, sorry, Midas.
Who's next?
Next up, FlatPay, based in Herlev in Denmark. Only founded in 2022. Team's grown twofold in the last 12 months. Last raised, they're up to Series B with 47 million put in them, and they've got a total of 67.4. What they are is a Danish fintech company providing payment terminals for SMEs like shops and restaurants.
Well, you and I know a bunch of people in this space,
Yep.
Icelandic players even some British players, but it was once very attractive as a space because you could differentiate on better connectivity, you've got better into different parts of the financial stack, et cetera. Increasingly, though, it looks like a bit of a reseller game for Chinese hardware.
Absolutely. So if we ask ourselves, is this a new category creator?
Well, is it?
No, it's just a new entrance into an already existing incrementally innovating category.
I see. Who is next up?
Vertice. Well, that's Vertice. I hope we've pronounced that correctly. Based here in lovely London.
Go on.
Founded in 2021. How's their team growing in the last 12 months? 168%.
Love those British jobs.
Super duper. And they've even raised $23 million in the Series B back in January of this year. Now, they describe themselves as a spend management platform that finance teams can use to gain visibility on their software and cloud spend.
Wait, we love spend management. It's a hot area, and there can be no doubt there's a lot more to play for here because corporate spend management is obviously hot in a downturn. And we can see companies like Soldo and Pleo and Tide, they're doing the expense management piece. They typically, at least formally, tied these to spend cards. But there's still a lot going on. And let's not forget our friends at Aptio, who we worked with on their TBM, Technology Business Management category. They got taken out by IBM for a small sum of 4.6 billion and remain the category kings. So, Virtus, category leader?
No, just another potentially better entrant into the spend management category. So next up, Clark. A very, very English name, based in a very, very German place, Berlin.
We like Berlin. It's got a lot of sexy startups.
We love Berlin. And these guys have been around a while. 2015, they were founded, grown 100% in the last 12 months, 715 employees. That's not too shabby.
No.
And they're on Series C with a total funding of 126 million. They're a digital insurance broker, apparently focused on consumers in Germany. And what they think differentiates them is users can compare quotes and also access current contracts in the Clark app.
We've got history here, Hyper Exponential, former client, doing very well, raised a lot of money from Battery Ventures, A16Z, as we've talked about before. So, category leader?
No.
Oh dear.
Just another entrance into the online comparison site category.
Sorry to hear that. Where are we going next?
We're going to talk about Zillow, Z-I-L-O.
Could it be Zillow? We don't know.
Could be Zillow, could be Zillow. Please tell us, Zillow or Zillow. They are located in the heart of one of the increasingly many financial districts
Well, hold
in
on.
London.
Some would say the former heart.
For those of you who don't even understand what we're talking about, it's Canary Wharf, which used to be London's Docklands. That declined, and a bunch of Canadians came in and largely redeveloped it. So, Zillow, doing good stuff again. 107% increase in employees in the last 12 months, up to 118. Lovely. They're on Series A, 25 million, again, back in January. And that means they've had over $45 million pumped into them.
That's a fair old chunk.
It's very nice. And, if you look at what they do, not surprising. They're an asset management software provider. They say they aim to replace legacy approaches to transfer management, which is, for those who don't know it, the process for overseeing investments and assets. So, deep in the financial community.
Category leader.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Possibly.
Whoa, a little breakout of a bit of optimism.
Thank
we love
God.
that. Yes.
But the point here is they need to reframe customer expectations, as Wise did with money transfer. Transfer management and money transfer are not the same thing. But the example here is that existing customers for financial services had their expectations reframed about what one company could do for them.
Great. Well, I'm glad we got one potential category leader. Right.
I'm going to talk about Lassie. This company is clearly not a dog because it's grown 100% in the last 12 months. 58 employees, 23 million euro Series B back in November. 40.2 million in total funding.
And is there a clue in the name?
There sort of is. They're a digital pet insurance company based in Sweden.
Very
in
cool.
Stockholm.
Very cool.
We love Stockholm. And it provides insurance programs for cats and dogs that can be managed in an app. So we ask ourselves, is this a new category creator?
Is it?
No,
oh dear.
Absolutely not. A digital pet insurance category with app delivery is already well established, and there's loads of competition in there, usually with pretty similar names. Right, which leads us to 9fin, founded again, quite old, 2016, nearly 100% growth to 213 employees again. They raised a Series A in December 2022. Again, they're back in good old London. They are an analytics platform for debt capital markets.
Is that a category leading position?
Well, it describes itself as the leading provider of debt market intelligence and offers everything you need to analyze a credit or win a mandate in one AI-powered platform. Got the modifier in there again. Is this a new category leader?
I'm guessing because it says AI-powered. Not really.
No. By their own description, debt market intelligence already exists, and being AI-powered is not a differentiator.
Definitely not.
They claim to be leading in DMI. So does everybody else.
Yeah, a little bit of betterism going on there, I think.
I think so, absolutely. So let's go across the North Sea to the Netherlands. Let's find Finom there. Founded 2019, team growth past 12 months, nearly 100%, 304 employees, and they're at Series B. Back in February with 50 million euros put in. Nothing shabby there. They've raised nearly $75 million in total. Now, what they do is they say they provide business accounts aimed at startups and freelancers across Europe.
We do know the space a little bit. Shout out to Henry and the Paydesk guys here. And of course, Holland, the Netherlands, is the home of one of the world's largest payment companies, Adyen.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely stonking it. Definitely a category leader
Totally.
there. But we do know a couple of people already in the remittance space, and even more specifically in the freelancer remittance space. So category leader?
What they say is different about them is that their users benefit from fully online IBAN accounts with card options, international transfers, fast invoice issuance, But are they a category leader?
I think I've heard it before.
No, because I think they're just an aggregation of existing services, and each of those services has an existing category leader serving an existing market.
All right, where are we going next?
Floex.ai. So these guys were founded 2020, virtually doubled their employees last 12 months, raised a 35 mil Series A in 2023. Got $43.1 million. Now, they're interesting because they're based in Romania. They say they're a fintech. They say they help banks and other financial institutions create digital products. They describe what they have as open, flexible, secure, and AI enhanced.
Oh, dear.
And it's really all about application modernization for banks of the future.
That's a shame because, this country is the home of UiPath. There's some genius engineers
There
here.
absolutely
But
is.
are there any category leaders?
No, well, this one's not going to cut it as a category leader. It's just a bag of features.
Harsh to end up here.
So what about Finance Guru?
Yes, the Germans.
Founded in 2015. Team growth, again, nearly 100%, 100 employees.
Nice size.
Only raised $13 million at a Series B. They've only raised 30.8. Now, what is Finance Guru? Now, the sort of clues in the name for German speakers. It's a digital financial assistant where users can manage all the accounts in one app. Once users have connected to all their accounts, it does clever things like calculate disposable income, provide analytics on spending and income. So I think this could be a category leader, again, if it reframes what users should expect from a digital personal assistant. But it's going to have to move very quickly to establish an unassailable ecosystem, because the ecosystem is very, very important for these guys.
I think the AI bit here actually makes a bit of sense.
It does.
Because, if something's watching over my shoulder, like Microsoft's Recall allegedly does, and sees all the stupid moves I make with my spending, so to speak, then maybe it could help change some habits.
This has got AI at its core. If it didn't have AI, it absolutely couldn't do what it does. It's not accentuated by AI. It really is an AI-driven application.
Because the Guru bit wouldn't really apply if it didn't have the AI.
No. And the other thing I like about Finance Guru is that I think these guys have chosen their cap table, their investors, very cleverly.
Ooh, who they got?
It got 13 million euros more in April, and the new investors were Score Ventures, PayPal Ventures,
Nice.
Very interesting, and participation from existing investors, including Deutsche Bank, Hanover Digital Investments, Venture Stars, and Postbank ex-CEO Frank Strauss. So they've got a good bench there. These guys could do it.
All right. So a total of 1.5 out of 9. Is that right?
10, actually. I think.
10, sorry. My maths. That's why I need a finance guru. So what are we learning?
I think the point is it can create a nice warm feeling that, fintechs are getting funded in Europe. But if you look at this sample, this quick sample, it looks like about only 20% might have the possibility of building a category.
Isn't that what we is that a little bit high even for what we think is the natural order of things?
I'm trying to be positive, Vipul.
Okay, fine.
The reality is if we're going to deal with Europe's category creation problem, this current crop of fintechs have got work to do if they want to have a category play, or at best avoid becoming part of somebody else's.
Which is a perfectly valid strategy for some companies.
It is, yeah. But as we know, if your team is growing, your runway is shortening. And these Series A and B players are likely to be looking for another round as they invest in what they believe to be the growth stage.
Right.
Yeah, in the meantime, the competitive environment will be gathering strength, and difference becomes increasingly not a nice to have, but an absolute must have.
Yeah, because early in the game, difference is what attracts investors.
It is. And to be brutal about it, if clear difference isn't established and a company's future increasingly slips out of its stakeholders' hands, investors start to evaluate their options in terms of getting their money out, and the chances of the firm being sold before reaching its potential or even its failure increases as the company becomes less attractive in a tight investment market.
Right.
So listen up, because if we don't get this right, another opportunity to change Europe's categorization leadership problem is missed. Think there are too many lookalike tech companies chasing the same markets? We do. We think it's because so few tech startups are able to build and lead their own categories. What matters most is to be different. Stop following and start building your own unassailable leadership position today. Working with the category design gurus at Categorical brings decades of differentiation expertise to your team. Book a consultation from our website today and we will send you our one-pager detailing how to start designing your own highly differentiated category. You know what? This really grinds my gears.
I'm sure there's a lot grinding your gears, Jonathan.
Well, as usual, yes, there is. And
what is grinding your gears?
Well, it's AI again. And what's really, really grinding my gears is I think AI is creating sloppiness.
I'm supposed to create efficiency, so...
Yeah, right, of course. Well, you know, the reality is it's some of the so-called AI boom isn't what it seems. And for the time being, some of the worries about IP and other lofty issues look misplaced. AI's biggest immediate impact is altogether more cheap and nasty. You know, the issue is that content generated by AI is becoming so prevalent online, it's clogging up the internet. And this is known as slop, apparently, which was, I think, coined or brought up by the rather serious UK newspaper, The Guardian.
What do you mean by slop? I think your definition is sloppy unless you tighten it up.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, you know, anybody who's got a LinkedIn account, if that isn't for old fogies like me, will notice they're getting messages these days that look a bit odd. You know, they're very, very poorly targeted and the language is rather weird. This is a barrage of irrelevancy. This slop stuff, it's rarely actually intended to do what we expect AI to do, which is answer people's questions, help them solve problems. Instead, it's designed to look like human-made content and pull in advertising revenue. Have you noticed this stuff?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a Facebook user. I think you are.
Well, yeah, my Facebook feed is full of it.
2 decades ago. Don't like it. But I will say that there is a point to that because a lot of the big tech guys are losing revenue because people are quite aware now that there's a lot of bots out there and most of the clicks that you pay for, pay-per-click advertising, is in fact spam bots. So they do need to convince people that the content that they're putting is being looked at. And so probably sloppy.
It is very, very, very sloppy. And you're dead right. I do have a Facebook account, apparently because I'm old and not sufficiently hip. But you can spot this stuff because, you know, the language looks machine generated. It sort of contains mistakes and the sort of stuff that even the most junior human spam machine wouldn't introduce into content, and a whole load of stuff which just seems completely peripheral to the story.
That's going to get better though, right? I mean, like, that's what we're told.
Well, is it? Because, you know, the problem is that these easily accessible AI models make it relatively easy for anyone to generate vast quantities of text or images or any other form of guff. This is a classic case. The usual application of a new technology has good and bad uses, and it's usually the bad that's first out the gate.
Yeah, well, let's not be sloppy. I mean, I think the fact that more people can access good writing is a good thing. Grammarly's a good thing. The primary use case for Gen I today is, in fact, writing. And I, for one, even though immodestly, I think as a former journalist, I can write reasonably well. Some would say well, and I'll take it. But, you know, the primary use case is improving people's general level of writing. And it is doing that.
Yeah, but this application is not about improving people's writing. It's the automation of the production of crap. Rather than any increase in human potential that you describe. These spammers, you know, scammers, grifters used to create all the dross that we used to receive manually, you know, hoping it would trick the search engines, you know, Google driving a few more clicks. Now they're doing it on steroids and even more cheaply using AI.
Yeah, I just think the volume's gone up. You know, in a way, it's power to the, if you regard scammers as people, power to the people, because Google used to keep the algorithm to itself, but still does. You have no idea whether or not, and they helpfully get you to spend more by holding auctions for keywords, for God's sake. It's all like a loaded game until now, all on the side of the SEO guys who said, we will get you to the people that we need to get you to. And because it cost you money to create the content, you didn't really care about the additional fee for the placement, so to speak, on SEO. It was all good. Now, the creation of the content is for nothing. So you can get volumes up and you can send it where you want. And what that will mean is the gatekeepers, the SEO folks, the Googles of this world, won't be able to charge as much because the gig is up.
All right. So, there are clearly some downsides for big tech. But the fact we're all being bombarded with this nonsense is because of big tech platforms. Now, I think this is where big tech needs to step up to the plate without being forced to by regulators.
Not going to happen.
Well, search engines should learn to filter out the slop the same way as we expect email platforms to filter out junk mail.
And it probably will happen. There will be filters, anti-AI, if you will. But the problem with restricting things is you don't know what you're missing if you stick a very strong filter on it.
Oh yeah, of course we've seen that issue, but this is a matter of balance and a matter of efficiency, and I think it's something which big tech and all its resources could fix relatively easily. The problem is all this crap drives traffic, so value judgments have to be made against the money making machines.
Yes, so it's even if it's crap being spammed out, they're still making money from selling eyeballs. I get that.
and they know this damn well. I mean, the excuser in chief and former UK middle of the road politician Nick Clegg, who's now the president of global affairs at Facebook, his parent company Meta, wrote a few months ago, back in February, that the social network is training its systems to identify AI-made content, saying, this is what he actually said, as the difference between human and synthetic content gets blurred, people want to know where the boundary lies. No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this is. I'm not sure this is the issue that you think it is. I'm much more optimistic. I think AI is going to make average writers better, and that's got to be a good thing. Just like accountants, that some people used to be bookkeepers. That was an actual job, copying figures from one line on an accounts spreadsheet to another. Now you can spend more time doing analysis, which is way more valuable. So I think we're just in a phase where there's a proliferation of spam, as you call it, a lot of it AI generated. And a lot of this content, I've heard it described recently as chicken. So
right. was that sort of bland, tasteless white?
Yeah, it's like, it's protein, but it ain't particularly exciting till you do something with it. And I think
everything tastes like chicken, doesn't it? Anything that you can't describe as chicken. So maybe we should use that for anything we can't describe.
But you need to add spice to chicken, and you need to add spice to content. You need to look for the long tail. And I think that's the advice really for people who want to figure out how to get ahead and not be accused of sending out all of this spam content, this AI rubbish, is really focus on what makes it different. Like, if the average is higher, you need to go a lot more, you need to be a lot more different than what's out there. You might want, super long sentences. You might want to conjugate things differently. You might want to use vocabulary that's not normally used, because let's remember, LLMs average everything. Right?
Yeah.
So the stuff you're seeing is the average image, the average content. To stand out in that market for content, you need to be extremely different.
Do you think big tech will move in any way to do this, or are you very pessimistic about it and you think the market will sort it out?
I think it will grind your gears for a bit.
Yes.
And then things will be better, Jonathan.
Okay, well, the thing that really excites me actually about all this is I think if big tech doesn't move quickly, there's a new category creation opportunity.
There is. Absolutely there is. And I'm sure there are people working on that, but you're right. You can't continue like this. But I think you've got a couple of elections to go through before it starts clearing up.
Possibly. But I think there's a good name for that category, given what we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Secure limitation of piffle. Slop. See what I did there?
Yeah, SLOP, I do. Good. Thanks for that.
Look, there's Captain Hindsight.
This is the time when we go back in time with Captain Hindsight. What have we got this time?
Well, I thought we'd have a quick look back not too long ago at Microsoft and the acquisition of Activision Blizzard.
Controversial.
So Microsoft announced its intention to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. That is an enormous amount of money. That's GDP size.
But look at the titles that Activision's got.
I know. January 2022, it looked good. They got Call of Duty, World of Warcraft,
okay,
and some other popular gaming franchises. So why did they do it? Well, we think the acquisition was driven by Microsoft's desire to ensure that its video gaming brand, which is Xbox,
Hardware, which is unusual for Microsoft, although they've just got back into it a little bit.
yeah,
But yeah,
that platform effectively made Microsoft a category leader in these types of games. And this should have been blindingly obvious at the beginning of the process, that potential hegemony of Microsoft gaming meant that immediately the deal was reviewed by 16, that's 16 global antitrust regulatory bodies.
I think they should
FTC.
regard themselves as lucky, because if that deal was announced today, that 16 would be 60.
Yeah.
Everybody's regulating the hell out of big tech. I think 16 is not bad.
So you might want to ask, what happened next?
What did happen next?
Well, they fought the law, and the law won. After months of negotiation with these regulatory bodies, Microsoft eventually offered to offload its cloud gaming support for Activision's games for a decade. That's 10 years. To Ubisoft, of all people. And weirdly, because that was particularly to appease the UK's CMA.
Yeah, I think that was a bad moment in time, actually, for many reasons. I think it has given, to this day, people in the UK regulators, and we've seen this with the AI summit that was in Bletchley Park, that's now gone to Korea, and is no longer called the AI Safety Government Summit. I think it's given UK people, because obviously we've got a lot of lawyers around here, this deluded anticipation of being able to regulate global industries. They think they can do AI. This little victory that the UK CMA got here has teed them up to make them a little bit big in their boots, I think.
Well, yeah, we could call this the post-empire attitude, but that would be a whole episode in itself. What amused me about all this toing and froing while the deal was going on was that the total cost of the acquisition inflated by about another 8 billion to 75.4 billion.
If you want to increase your costs, include some regulators and lawyers.
Absolutely. Well, or realize that you are going to have to go through the mill, and that has to be built into the deal. So Microsoft has established dominance of the current generation of consumer gaming. But as this case demonstrates, the stakes get higher as your ecosystem expands and encompasses new players. In this case, government and national regulators.
It's very hard. Once you get the regulators and the lawyers involved, things get difficult. Going back even further, Captain Hindsight, going back even further, we can think about the EU battle to get Microsoft to unbundle the browsers. That took about a decade.
Yep.
Nobody remembers.
Should have seen this coming then, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah, people forget. But, Netscape's Mosaic, Lycos, Alta Vista, all of those guys were competing until Microsoft made its big, bold move. And it did get its wrist slapped eventually. But in this case, they just went for it again. Fearless.
Yeah.
And this is possibly teeing up to where we're going with this. With OpenAI, there's a bunch of lawsuits and regulations coming down the pike. But Microsoft just has this sort of strategic vision, have to hand it to them, that they will take on these big fights.
They're making enough money these days to really lawyer up. But I think the key message here is if you're going to be highly successful in category creation through acquisition, you might just gain a monopoly situation as well as being the category leader. And if you do that, you are going to come into conflict with regulators, and you may need to abandon non-core aspects of the category proposition, which I think this is what Microsoft have done.
They've done pretty well. I mean, right now, after the browser war, they ended up with sort of 94% share, even though you need 70% or more, according to the book Play Bigger, to have this virtual monopoly. This time, the regulators were ready. Today, Chrome has 70% share of the browser war, but that's about to all change because, as we know, browsers will decline and AI will be the new front end for internet content. But Microsoft's still up to its same old gears. I mean, there's many instances where it's got this thing called, it's innocently calling user protection driver. This is the move from Windows 10 to Windows 11, which is just locking you in further. It's an inherently monopolistic type company. So that will definitely rumble on. We've seen that the recall move with the new Microsoft PCs, which are going to take snapshots. And again, this is all about locking you into the Microsoft world.
So it sounds like they've been learning a lot from Apple. So I think the message from all of this is, one, understand the role of regulation in your ecosystem, and two, in this case, grab your popcorn.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more, go check our blog posts on becategorical.com.
If you have a category issue, then we can help. Get in touch with us.
And remember, don't be better, be different.